Joanna Olouch is a game designer, developer, and a digital artist from Kenya, armed with skills in Unity 3D, Krita, and Figma, and a love for cute things. She crafts content that resonates her experiences, her love for programming, art, games, and storytelling, with a background in engineering and a knack for blending art and technology. Joanna is on a mission to push boundaries of creative technology, one adventure at a time. And this is her story. As Joanna, do you have a particular platform that you like to create for?
None in particular. Okay. I tend to develop for Android most of the times because it's easily accessible to a wide population. And since it's very popular, like mobile games are very big right now.
Yes, they are.
There are a lot of tools that are already built. Yeah. So I find it really easy to develop for mobile platforms. And since I also have like an Android phone and I spend most of my time on it, I prefer to build for that platform. Okay. But if I was given the opportunity, I would really love to build for the Switch, the Nintendo Switch, because it releases some of the most adorable, fun, cozy games out there.
Okay.
And it was one of the reasons why I got into gaming, because of like the cozy, chill games. Yes. And I just really love the console.
Yeah. What was your first experience with gaming? Where did you first experience it?
Wow, that's a throwback. My first experience with gaming would have been in like the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. My mom traveled to Germany and she came back with a Nintendo Wii console, and she was like, I'm being told this is the biggest thing out there. You know, kids are playing with it. So that was my first experience. I think the first game we played was Wii Play, where like you can like, there's a game where you are an alien and you abduct cows. There's like where you spot people. So my sister and I spent hours upon hours upon hours just playing with like the Nintendo Wii. So that was my first experience with gaming, with video games in particular.
Okay.
But otherwise, as children, where I grew up in like a forest.
What forest is it?
It's called Ololo Forest. Yeah, so there's a residential area there, and that's where I grew up. So our parents are very old school. So before we had the console, and even after we had the console, they would like kick us out of the house. They'd be like, "Go make your own fun, like get out of here."
Which is interesting because they actually brought it to you.
Yes, I know. You know the duality of it all. But yeah, we would like go outside and we'd make up our own games. Like we even like created a whole society of sorts revolving around like leaves as currency and mud cakes and things. And then it fell into anarchy because the police started, like hoarding all the leaves to themselves.
Yeah.
But that's just an example of how I would still like create all these games. They're not video games per se, but they're still games in terms of how we'd like find ways to play with our environment.
Yeah. So tell me more about how, growing up in that environment. I'm assuming you were a young girl at that particular time.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do in campus? What did you do? Did you take any course in line with game development?
So I didn't do any course in line with game development. I actually did mechatronics engineering, which is a combination of electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and some computer systems.
Yes.
So the only connection you can really put there with like video game development is the computer systems part where you learn about software and programming.
Yeah.
The reason why I picked engineering was because in high school, I was both good at like art, and I started learning about programming later on in like Form 3. But when I was deciding, I was told, okay, you're good at both of them, but pick something which is serious and makes sense. And I was just like, you know what? Engineering makes sense. That's the adult decision to make.
Yeah.
So I picked engineering and I did the whole 5 years, the whole everything, the
what school
laboratory work. I went to Dedan Kimathi University in Nyeri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really difficult living away from home because I'm a city child.
Yeah.
Even if I did grow up in the forest, I really love Nairobi.
Mm.
But yeah, I did the whole 5 years. Once I finished, I started an internship as a processing engineer. So I was going to just continue down the path of doing mechatronics engineering, even on to like masters and so on. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that your upbringing or in an environment where gaming was introduced to you led you to where you are right now?
Yes. Okay. I strongly believe that the environment we grew up in led me to this because even going back to like the Wii console, that was such like an old memory that had been locked away and I didn't realize until like I started developing games.
Yeah.
Just that aspect of like our parents readily allowed us to explore video games. They
Which is
didn't,
very important, right?
yes, and they didn't even like lock us into like gender specific activities. They didn't say, okay, you can only play with like Barbie dolls or something like that. They were like, you guys want to bike, go biking. You guys want to go run around in mud, do that. You guys want to play video games, do that. And our parents also encouraged us to do art, because both me and my sibling are artists. We're digital artists, and we like taught ourselves 90% of what we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're creating, who do you create as
I
Joanna?
create for people like me. That sounds vague, but if I can go and describe myself, I like cute things. I like cozy games. I like interesting mysteries and stories that leave you with an impact. Like they leave you different from when you started with them. So I want to create games for people like that. People who are interested in beyond just playing the game, but also being changed by the story and seeing themselves even in the characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where does the inspiration for the games come from?
It comes a lot from like my own experiences, growing up, as I mentioned, and also from like things that I see in day to day. So one of the games that I created, I was like, okay, what's something which is typical Kenyan, and I've seen it all the time, and I was like, it's sheep herders, because usually when you're traveling, especially like long distances, once in a while you're gonna come across like cows on the road and they're blocking like traffic up for I don't know how long.
Yeah.
So I was like, this seems interesting. How does a shepherd actually manage the cows?
Yeah.
Then I was like, what if the shepherd has to defend the cows? And what if it was a game?
Yeah.
So I came up with a shoot 'em up, which is like where you stand in one place and you like shoot around yourself, where you defend a herd of sheep that are following you in a circle. And you have to like shoot at the lions who are coming towards you. So that's just an example of how like I get ideas. I just like look at my environment and something which just seems fun and interesting to me, and that it feels like I'm telling an experience that I relate to.
Okay.
Then I'll try and create around that.
All right. Yeah. I'm just curious myself, because you did engineering. Did you practice that at any particular point, or you just jumped into game development?
So I did actually intern for 6 months as a processing engineer at a semiconductor factory, still in Nyeri.
Okay.
But as I was doing it, I was getting to the point where I was like, I'm not expressing myself creatively anymore. As I mentioned, in high school, I was very into art. I did art for the whole 4 years as KCSE. But then I let it go as I was doing engineering. So what I did is, while I was still interning, what did I do? Sorry. I joined a boot camp by Malio Games in 2022. I was like, if I start programming and I hate it, then I'll just forget about this and let it go and, bury it under the bed and pretend this never happened. And if I like it, then maybe I should start considering a career change. So I went through the boot camp, and the fact that I am sitting here just goes to tell you how it ended.
So was that immediate after the 6 months?
It was, what actually happened is I ended my internship.
Okay.
Yeah. The internship was supposed to go on for quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
But then it reached a point where like we were coming to the end of the boot camp, and I was just like, I already know where I want to go.
What you want to do.
Yeah. And I was like, I have to take that jump.
Yes.
And just do it, because if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it. I'm gonna chicken out.
And
again.
that's a beautiful thing about being young. You have the ability and the opportunity to be able to try out as many new different things, so you can be very sure this is what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
You're currently working for a South African agency. How did that come about?
So as I was participating in the boot camp, there was a second phase where we were paired up with mentors. So one of the mentors is actually who I'm currently working with. She's called Estelle Mahova.
All right.
And she founded the studio Tiny Baby Crown in South Africa. So she was one of my mentors. We had 3 of them.
Okay.
She was one of my mentors. We had 3 of them. And the game that I created, what I was describing before about the sheep and everything, I remember like getting to that point and we were being told, okay, pick what you want to make. And I was like, I know liking cute things at my age seems childish, but I really, really like cute things. So I decided to make a cute game.
Okay.
And she saw me making the cute game and she was like, I also like making cute games.
That's like mindedness.
So cool. So it was like single brain cell connect. And then like after the boot camp ended and everything happened, she reached out to me and she was like, hey, I'm making a game and my studio is starting. Do you want to join? And I was like, for sure, yes. Let's make cute games together.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up here.
So this is your first job?
This is my first job.
All right.
Yeah.
How long has it been?
It's been 7 months.
How's the journey been so far?
The journey has been full of ups and downs. Okay. Like I'm learning a lot more than I did initially, like even through the boot camp, because a lot of the time it's me to like make decisions on what's going to end up in the game, and that's a lot of pressure.
And you're working remotely.
And I'm working remotely,
Yeah.
yes. So on the working remotely end, I actually like working at home.
Okay.
It's really fun. I just like stay in my pajamas the whole day.
Are you still staying with your parents, or?
Yes, I'm still staying with my parents in this
In the
economy.
forest?
Yes, no, not in the forest.
Okay.
We actually moved away from there.
All right.
So working remotely for me, it's been really fun. I prefer like working in an environment which I feel comfortable in. So I can decide how I want to set up everything and how I manage my day.
Yes.
And I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's been difficult in terms of like, it's very isolating because you're just by yourself. And
Yes.
since everybody I'm working with is in a different country, I can't just like meet up with them in person. So I've had to find other ways to like connect with other people in the space. Also, the part for like learning a lot on the job, I will be given a task, and since it's a small studio, you're expected to like come up with the ideas yourself and manage yourself, which is really fun because that's a lot of creative freedom. But it's also terrifying because now I know that other people outside there, beyond the games that I made for myself that were just for fun, other people are going to look at these games
and I want critique them in the process.
And critique them, yes. And I want them to have like a good experience. I want them to come, the way I mentioned, I want them to come out of that experience feeling changed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that pressure, but it's fun in terms of like finding solutions to the challenges that I come up against.
Yeah. Which is beautiful because I love that you say that you have the freedom to be able to work by yourself. How do you manage timelines, your timelines towards a project, especially because you're isolated, you're working remotely? Is it discipline? What?
It's a lot of discipline, because you can be tempted. I literally work in my room, so my bed is right there staring at me throughout the entire day. So I have to like set up my timeline for the day. I use my calendar a lot. I set up tasks, and then I also communicate regularly with the rest of the studio. I'm like, this week I'm working on this, and these are the specifics. And we use like management software online that you can say, that everybody can see I'm working on this task, and these are all the little subtasks.
Which is very important, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's very important to like maintain discipline. Nobody's watching you. It's no longer like school where somebody's chasing after you and telling you, oh, you have to get this done. You're holding yourself accountable. And that's like a big task to do. But if you're up to it and you have the purpose and the passion for it, then you definitely can.
Amazing. So in a space where there's so many game developers right now in Africa, how do you set yourself apart as an individual for you to stand out?
So I do that by maintaining high levels of quality. In everything that I do, I make sure that from beginning to end, yes, it has to be high quality work. I have very high standards for myself. I'm very much a perfectionist.
All right.
And it's just because I want to do the best that I can. I don't want to leave anything unfinished or like poorly done. So the way I see it is that quality of work actually stands out and it speaks for itself. And that's how a lot of people have come to know me, because they see it and they're like, you did this, you of all people. And I'm like, yeah,
it's me.
Yeah. And that's how, I think that's what sets me apart. Yeah. The quality of work and the dedication to like put in the effort, even if it's like reiterating over something that you thought was good. Like you might have thought, this is the best thing I've ever made. Nothing else can compare.
Critiquing yourself to ensure that you actually achieve quality.
Yes. Yeah. And then also asking people, even if you think it's good, I always still ask people, what do you think about this? Like, give me your honest opinion. And then I try and like improve upon that.
And who are these that you're asking opinions from?
I ask opinions. I have a lot of friends. Like I mentioned, my sibling is in digital art professionally.
So she's the first person that you actually go to.
She's the first person that I go to all the time. And she has like, not to play favorites. She has a very good eye for detail.
And you need that, right?
Yes. She's actually the one who taught me how to draw as a child. I saw her doing it, and being the last born that I am, I was like, teach me.
How much older is she?
By 1 year and 5 months.
So you're also very good friends as well.
Yes, we are. Yeah. So I'll ask my sister first, and then I will also ask my friends, because I have a lot of friends who are part of like the art and creative industry. So I'll talk to them. I'll be like, I'll bounce ideas off of them. I'll ask them, can you play this a little bit and tell me how it feels, or what do you think could be improved? And I also definitely communicate. with Estelle as well,
Okay.
because she's very happy to all the time to just share and communicate with me, and even like
Yeah.
encourage me to learn about new things that I didn't know before.
Mm.
I will also look online, because like the greatest resource we have right now in our day and age is the internet.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So like there's the way people say the University of YouTube.
Yes.
I'll definitely say I graduated from there with everything
Yeah.
that I know.
And learning never really stops. You cannot get to a point
Yes.
and say that you've had gotten all the knowledge that you need. You know, it's always very important to improve yourself as a person.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also like look online, and if I see something cool that somebody else has done,
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I do that in mine?
In your own way.
Yeah, in my own way. So that's how I like get information to improve my own work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is lovely that you're talking about quality of works. Are there particular tools that you use, software that you would be able to recommend?
Unity.
Unity.
I know there's a whole Unity versus Unreal
Yes.
situation.
For you, it is Unity.
For me, it is Unity.
Okay.
I picked Unity because it was easily accessible to me. C# is relatively easy to learn. The whole object-oriented programming, etc. It already matched stuff that I knew, so it was easy to like just switch my brain and figure that out. Also, like the number of resources that are available with Unity. Unity has been there for such a long time, I believe since 2013. So you can imagine there's just a ton of resources.
Piling on the resources, yeah.
And they also have an amazing library of like pathways that you can learn. So you can learn from beginning to end how to become a junior Unity developer. You can specialize in augmented reality, virtual reality. You can specialize in creative stuff and even sound design. So I would definitely recommend that for anybody who's trying to learn.
Yeah.
For digital art, I know that there are a lot of softwares out there. There's like Photoshop, there's Clip Studio Paint, but I actually personally use Krita because it's free and it's open source. And it's very, like, once you get past the steep learning curve, I'm not going to lie on that.
Yeah.
It's very useful, and it's very easy to use. And yeah, I really enjoy using it. I've been using it since 2015.
Okay.
Wouldn't trade it for anything else unless somebody offers me something better, which they have not.
Yes.
Yet.
Yes.
There's also Figma.
Okay.
That you can use for like layouts on UI. That's what I personally use, especially since I did some web development. It was very handy in like laying out screens, and also still now as I'm developing like menus for the video game that we're developing, I use Figma a lot to just like see how it would look, try out different configurations, and then even sometimes create assets that I can then put inside the game. Yeah. So those are the softwares that I would recommend.
Yeah. I know it's just been a few months.
Yes.
But what are some of the challenges that you've come across in your career?
There's the isolation, of course.
Yes.
That has been very difficult. The way I manage that is every time I see an event is happening, I will go for it if I have the time. So like events held at the game dev center, even like Naiccon or Tamatsuri, I'll go to all those events and I'll talk to people. And that really helps because now I get to meet people in my own area who are facing similar challenges or who have similar experiences to me, rather than like depending on what I see online as like a guide. Another challenge would be just like my lack of knowledge. I finished the boot camp and I was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm so ready. And then like I got my first task and I was so stuck for the longest time. And it came from like analysis paralysis, where I was trying to like figure out how to do everything without actually starting on it. So I figured that out by like just building whatever. I was like, if it comes out badly, it comes out badly, but at least I've tried.
Okay.
So that was difficult to handle. Another one is just lack of experience. I know that sounds similar to the other one for the lack of skills, but the lack of experience comes in terms of like, I don't know who to talk to sometimes for things, or like what I'm supposed to be doing next. It's a lot of like making it up as I go along, and seeing opportunities and then going for them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And that would be like a challenge that I've experienced because the industry is like relatively young. It's been there for a while, but it's
in Africa
comparatively very young. And it's like you don't have, like for other careers, people will tell you, like for mechatronics engineering, somebody will tell you, do the mechatronics engineering, specialize in like embedded systems. So you do embedded systems, now go to robotics, etc. The last challenge that I would say I've faced is there's no the industry is very young. So there's no defined path that will tell you, okay, this is exactly what you have to do to achieve success in this role. And that's very scary But the nice part is that I have mentors who I can talk to and ask. And while I can't just like, the way programmers do copy paste what they've done and achieve exactly the same thing, at least I have like some guideline to get where I want to be.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think Africans are consuming African created games?
Not as much.
What's the challenge?
As would be the best, the optimal, like not as much as I think they should be. Me being one of them. I would say I've grown up on a lot of content made by like Western media.
Yeah.
So Western games, Western content, Western movies, Western music. So to me, it feels very comfortable to go back to that time and time again. And then when I consume African content, it feels a bit strange. Like I can see myself in the content sometimes, and I can understand its roots more than I can understand the Western media. But I'm just like, this is strange, and it's new and it's strange, and I don't understand it. I'm trying to change that in myself personally.
Because you are an African creating content for Africa and the world, I'm assuming.
Exactly.
And you'd want us to be able to consume it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't think Africans are consuming that content as much. And I think there's actually quite a bit of content that's already out there, quite amazing content that's already out there. And I wish more people would be curious enough to explore outside of their comfort zones. And I will be there on that journey with them as well, taking my first steps outside of the things which I feel are normal.
I think one of them is quality. As long as we are able, and this generation is able to create quality content, then it wouldn't be a very hard thing for us to be able to consume it as Africans. Because I think that's one of the things that has been lacking for a very long time, but has been changing over the last few years, which is amazing to see.
Yes.
What do you want to be able to create in the next 5 to 10 years?
I haven't thought about it like in depth, to be honest with you. Okay. I'm just like, right now I'm in the stage of like happy to be here, surprised I got here in the first place. But I would definitely really love to make my own studio and like make games that I want to make, because like that creative freedom of like the character styles down to the stories and everything, it's very difficult to achieve that within somebody else's studio, because they have their own goals and
there's a narrative that they want to be able to tell.
So they have their mission. So I would like to start out to create my own studio with its own mission and its own plans and goals and etc. I would also really love, maybe I can say like my 1-year plan, I would really love to connect with more artists and creatives within the same industry, like more than I already have.
Come to the Nairobi Comic Con convention in December, and other platforms, other engagements that we usually put at the end of the year. But that's just one of them.
Yeah, that's just one of them. Funnily enough, we've exhibited at Naiccon twice.
Oh, good.
Yeah, 2018 and 2019. We were selling like our artwork and stuff, and we did get to meet a lot of new people. But then after COVID, it was like everybody just like went home and couldn't go outside for a long time while the pandemic was ongoing. So now it's just like everything is starting back up. So I want to be able to reach the level of like, I know people within the industry, they know me and my work. We're collaborating and we're creating stuff that we enjoy and that we love and that feels authentic to us. There
aren't so many girls in this space.
No.
There aren't, yes. There aren't. For a young lady who's looking at you, or a young man who's trying to get into the space, maybe they're school or thinking to get into this career, what would be your advice to them?
The first thing I want them to know, is, first of all, this is what a game developer looks like.
And easy looking, not too official, which is awesome.
Like, I'm one of them. I didn't think game developers could be somebody like me. I actually like avoided programming for so many years because I was like, I'm too dumb for that. Nah, it's never going to work out. And then I started and I began to see that like, I'm actually good at this.
Enjoying it.
So don't hold yourself back. Don't let yourself be the one person telling you can't do this. Just do it. If it comes out bad, that's fine. At least you tried. The only way you can fail is by not trying. So I just want them to know that like, this is what a game developer looks like. Take out a mirror. If you want to be a game developer, if you want to be an artist, if you want to be a videographer, a VFX artist, a filmmaker, anything, take out a mirror and look at it. That's what that person looks like. It's you, and it's just you to like go out there and do it. It's difficult. Yes, there's no lie about that.
And when you say difficult, what do you mean?
Difficult. The way I mentioned, like the industry is small. So sometimes it's a situation of it's who you know, which can be really sad. But if you have your skills out there then more opportunities open up to you that don't depend on your name and who you know. You build a name for yourself.
It's your works that speak for themselves.
Your work speaks for itself. Another difficulty.
Yeah.
The pausing, you're going to have to cut it out. Another one is like sometimes the industry has, we've all had the stories of like the layoffs, the horrible working conditions, crunch time, etc. So there are all those difficulties of like working as an employee in a studio. The conditions are not great in a lot of places. I'm very lucky. I am very, very lucky to be in the situation where I'm in. Where like my boss is great. We actually literally do mental health checks and stuff like that and talk about our lives beyond like just the work that we're creating. But not everybody has that opportunity and that chance. And it really weighs down on a lot of creatives where our mental health is suffering. We have nobody to turn to.
You're alone.
The whole, and then society is against, especially like Kenyan society, we view mental illness as like this taboo we should never ever speak about.
And not just Kenya, but in Africa, we really haven't gotten that to be able to understand it. It is an issue.
It's such a big issue. And I wish people would be more open about speaking about it and like putting things into practice that actually help. Because if I hadn't had the practices that I have around mental health, I wouldn't have made it this far. It would have been very difficult for me and I wouldn't be the person that I am today. But with like the support system that I have of family and friends and other creatives and things that I put in place to make myself comfortable and also take care of myself, be the first person who loves me before somebody else does. That has helped a lot. And I wish everybody had that. And that's such a difficulty within the industry where like we don't take care of our bodies as well as we take care of our machines. You know,
we value them more than we do.
We value them more than we do ourselves. Like if we fall, we'd rather break ourselves than a machine. And that's
maybe because they're very expensive as well.
They're expensive.
But we are more precious.
So that's another issue with the industry that I would say. The pay sometimes it's not that great in a lot of places.
Because I was going to ask you, are you able to survive with what you're actually doing right now? As you close, as you finish?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because I got lucky. Again, I'll keep saying this, but I got lucky in the place where I am. I'm paid well enough to survive and actually grow as a person. But from the places, from offers that I've gotten, I've realized we're not paying people enough for the things that you expect them to do. And I think that's why the quality of work suffers. Because you can't really expect somebody to survive on a specific amount and then still
expect
like you're expecting Hollywood standards, but you're not paying by Hollywood standards. There's a mismatch of that. And I think people should be paid for the level of work that they're doing. You shouldn't be afraid to demand that 100K that you know will help you survive and actually grow as a person. You shouldn't be like scared to say that. You shouldn't take like salaries that are gonna leave you suffering at the end of the day just because that's the only option you have. There should be a lot more choice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joanna.
Thank you for having me. I hope I've answered all your questions and hopefully I've inspired somebody, not just like girls in gaming, but also regardless of gender. I believe like gaming is for everybody,
and that's
even age.
Even age, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the main reason why we are doing this. One of the reasons why we are doing this, apart from amplifying your voices and telling your stories, getting to celebrate you, we really want to be able to empower and inspire the next generation. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.